Good evening, gamers, and welcome back to another Hype Tranquility cast. My name is Thor, and I'm going to be doing the play-for-play with you tonight, play-by-play for you tonight. Words are hard. See, I get one sentence into the cast, and I'm already screwing up. Happy to be joined here by the young and the beautiful OC, who will be our dedicated analyst. Tonight's feature match, looking to be a true test as to who's going to be able to climb into the upper echelons of Indigo A within the Discord tier here. We've got the 1 and 3 SEAL Team Spuds going up against the currently 2 and 2 Q for Quarantine. Both of themselves really in desperate need of a win here heading into stage 2. Depending on what the map score is for tonight, we're looking at teams potentially being sent into that Group B or being cast down into Group C. So definitely a lot riding on the line here for both teams tonight.
Yeah, we've got a lot here. We got SEAL Team Spuds, Q for Quarantine, both teams that seem pretty even. It's a very even matchup tonight, from what we can tell. And overall, we're going to see a lot tonight from these players.
Absolutely. So, for those of you who aren't up to speed with the current rankings, current standings in Discord tier, Spuds basically can't drop a map tonight. If they're looking to get into Group B, they need to 3-0 or 4-0 Q for Quarantine night if they're looking to move up into Group B heading into Stage 2. Whereas if they drop a single map, that's going to mean that Q for Quarantine goes ahead and secures that Group B spot. So looks like we're heading into Nepal here first. Sanctum looks to be our first map. Really interested to see, if either of these teams really kind of have gravitated towards this these brawl comps, or if they're looking to run a little bit more of a dive-centric composition.
Yeah, and here you have a lot of angles on Sanctum here, and it's just really a very, very a map that you can really adapt on. There's a lot you can really do here, and now here we've got the compositions from both teams. We're seeing more of a brawly composition from the SEAL Team Spuds here, and again, another brawly composition from Q for Quarantine, a bit different here. We've got Death Knot on the Hanzo. Looking to see where this composition goes. Maybe a bit of a more pokey composition from SEAL Team.
Yeah, definitely might be a decent map here for the Hanzo with all the sight lines they have. But both teams going up, trying to contest the bridge here. Oh my gosh! Luis goes ahead and gets booped off into the well here, which is going to give SEAL Team Spuds great positioning here on the bridge, forcing out May block on the side of Q for Quarantine, and Q for Quarantine looking disengaged here, already deeming the fight to be lost, which is going to allow SEAL Team Spuds to start ticking up on the percentage here for the control point. But it also looks like Q for Quarantine is already looking to re-engage. Beppo gets caught out. Nice wall on the side of Meow MC, but unfortunately unable to capitalize it. Immortality Field is already used. Huge shatter by Beppo. Are they able to capitalize on it? Absolutely they are. Kara gets demeched, and this is also looking like another one fight for SEAL Team Spuds. Great team for the great start for the Potato Orc here.
Yeah, here also in this next fight, not out of it yet. We've got Kiddo with the grab on the side of SEAL Team Spuds. This could be dangerous here for Q.
Yeah, definitely an early grab built here by Kiddo. Let's see if they're going to be able to make windows used by both sides here. Nice wall on the side of Meow MC to mitigate a lot of that incoming damage. Deadeye is used by Seraph, unfortunately not able to really capitalize on that. Your teammate goes down though, so without the Baptiste on the side of SEAL Team Spuds, it's looking like a little bit of a snowball potential here. Beppo almost gets the charge kill on the glitch, unfortunately gets taken down beforehand. Seraph is able to get the DMech onto Kara, but in relatively short order here, it looks like Q for Quarantine is able to retake this and has already accumulated 21% of progress on the point for themselves.
Yeah, here, Quarantine's rotations are looking really, really strong. They were able to really just outwit SEAL Team Spuds here, and once again, they're playing this really far area here.
Oh, big grab coming in. Grab Dragon combo coming in. They aren't able to actually pick anybody off with that, with a huge, with a clutch immortality field coming out from Glitch. Unfortunately, with a couple of ultimates invested here, SEAL Team Spuds doesn't really have anything to show for it, and it's looking like they're going to be ready to reset here.
Yeah, here, Q for Quarantine just continuing to keep control of this point with an Iron Fist. Really, really strong rotations here, being able to ebb and flow against the aggression of SEAL Team Spuds here. The SEAL Team Spuds are going in, using the resources, and getting shut down as Q re-engage. It's just really smart rotations here.
Yeah, nice rotation here from SEAL Team Spuds, but they're met abruptly by a window from Q for Quarantine, so that's going to delay their progress here. Almost a huge boop there onto the D.Va, but luckily she had her jets up, so she was able to make it back on the high ground safely. Big freeze coming in on the side of Q for Quarantine from YoMC, but unfortunately gets taken down as he pops it. High Noon coming in from Seraph, isn't able to pick anybody off with it. SEAL Team Bomb coming in on the side of Kara, able to pick off Death Knot and take out the Immortality Field. Looking like a relatively stagnant fight here because SEAL Team Spuds isn't really able to make any progress towards the point. Kind of getting stuck in this corner here. They finally do make their way over to the point. The pin coming in from Louise. It's a swing and a miss. Big window coming in from your teammate, but unfortunately gets picked off as she pops it. Big shatter coming down from Louise. Able to pick off two. Two going down with that shatter. And now let's just clean up here for the side of Q and Quarantine. Looking like last fight status here. And unfortunately, doesn't look like Death Knot's going to be able to touch in the first round of DePaul. Definitely looking like it's going to go the way of Q for Quarantine.
Here, just overall, once again, Q for Quarantine just out-rotating, and they're playing a lot faster where they need to. Compared to SEAL Team Spuds here, and you see SEAL Team Spuds really getting stuck in these corners, really unable to group up and get on one target, which is really your primary goal on a brawl composition. So they're having a lot of trouble with that, and they really need to gain that focus and be able to get on one target, especially utilizing Soccer's speed boost. And here we're going to see similar compositions coming out from both teams. Now Kiddo is going to be on the D.Va, trying to mirror the Ryan D.Va brawl here.
Yeah, definitely a map that lends itself to a little bit more brawl type compositions. Definitely easier to execute on both sides, more so than on Sanctum. But both teams headed to the point immediately on the right-hand side. It looks like Q for Quarantine gets there a little bit earlier, so they already have positioning on the point. They have the turret set up. It's going to make it really, really difficult for Spuds to be able to make any headway onto the point here. But Seraph getting a first pick, this might be the advantage that SEAL Team Spuds is looking for in order to be able to get a foothold on the point. Charge comes in from Beppo, unfortunately gets punished for it, but it's not without trading out for Kara. But at the end of the day, it's looking like Q for Quarantine is just going to have way too much sustain in order for SEAL Team Spuds to be able to rebuff it. And it looks like Q for Quarantine getting pretty aggressive here. They're backing up now, though, as they understand that it's time to reset and buckle down for the next fight.
Yeah, here, Frosty already with the sim wall, building that extremely quickly, and with that point presence, Q for Quarantine really just focusing on playing a point here. Those sim turrets, plus that wall that could be coming out next fight, this is going to be a difficult fight for SEAL Team Spuds to win. Getting into that point, with that presence, Seraph is really going to need to go for these flanks and really just take down this bunker.
Yeah, big wall coming in from Frosty, going to mitigate pretty much all that damage that would potentially be coming in from Potato Warrior here. Wall goes down, though, so this is going to be an opportunity for the Spuds to be able to make a point. High Noon comes in through a window, not able to get anybody out, not able to find anybody out of position, but Death Knot getting picked out first by Glitch, of all people. They do trade out with the D.Va. Kara gets demeched. Beppo goes down, though, and without their main tank, it looks like SEAL Team Spuds is going to end up having to regroup for a second time here already.
Yeah, SEAL Team Spuds committing the Baptiste ult and the High Noon, really getting no value out of either. Q for Quarantine's point presence here is absolutely dominant, and they've really been smart with using their abilities and ultimates, especially Frosty's Wall, which is actually already halfway built uh, to just mitigate any poke and any chance of SEAL Team Spuds really getting onto this point.
Yeah, definitely a couple of ultimates that Potatoes are looking to invest here. They invest with the beat a little early, but Luis goes down as he overextended. Big shatter hit by Beppo after they take out the opposing Reinhardt, and all of the subsequent kills end up coming in. The the stagger is real, and after cleaning up the remaining forces from Q for Quarantine, SEAL Team Spuds finally take their first fight win of this map.
4 ultimates committed from SEAL Team Spuds, though. Definitely a big commitment, especially going into this next fight where they're going to be playing the high ground, looking to punish a rotation from Q for Quarantine. While Q have that Diva Bomb for Kara, and Frosty has this wall once again, getting that point presence.
Big TP coming in onto the point, which is really allowing Quarantine to really kind of get set up on point without being contested by the Potato Board. But as I say that, Seraph goes ahead and pops Deadeye, takes out both Meow MC and Nanook, and the rest is history, as they say. Big fight win for Potato Org going in with only really committing the Deadeye and the Window, which I don't want to say are relatively... I don't want to say that they're useless ultimates, but they're not your prime ultimates that you're looking to use. So being able to get that type of value out of those both ultimates, we take those.
Yeah, and Seraph really taking these angles and being real smart about this. It's really up to Kara here to try and mitigate how much value Seraph can get.
Yeah, Potatoes here looking to meet Q for Quarantine at the choke, but unfortunately they melt Beppo's shield and the shatter comes through from Luis. It's a huge shatter. Your teammate is taken down. Q for Quarantine is making their way to point. Unfortunately, this is looking like it's going to be last fight territory. The freeze does come out in order to be able to buy time for the Potato Org. Let's see if they're going to be able to buy enough time for Beppo to come in. They do. Beppo looking to take out Nanook on the side. Nanook out of position. He does get taken out by the opposing Reinhardt. Big Shatter comes through, able to put Glitch down on the ground. No follow-up comes through, able to put down the Immortality Field, but it's all for naught as Beppo, coming in the clutch, is able to take this last fight for Potato Org. Is anybody from Q for Quarantine going to be able to touch this point? It looks like the Doomfist is going to come in, but isn't going to get there on time, and we are currently tied here on the poll.
There, the zoning mail. Usually you don't get a lot of value out of those, but there it bought just enough time for SEAL Team Spuds to rush back to the point and really catch Q for Quarantine off guard, thinking they're really cleaning up that fight there, but Death Knot was able to buy just enough time for Beppo and Soccer to get back to the point alongside the rest of SEAL Team Spuds shortly after, and it was just really well played.
Yeah, I definitely gave a lot of credit to Beppo there, but you're absolutely right, and that May ult really just ended up buying Spuds the amount of time that they needed in order to be able to get a legitimate recontest back in. And I think that might have caught Quarantine a little bit off guard. But going into the third and final map here for Nepal, both compositions coming out running different variations of a ball composition. Huge wall coming in from Meow MC, able to section off Beppo, but unfortunately not able to take advantage of it.
SEAL Team Spuds kind of stuck on the staircase.
Yeah, Q for Quarantine definitely has position here on the point, is able to force Spuds out. Let's see what type of rotation Spuds are trying to make on the point here. It looks like they're trying to go Elephant. Stun comes through from the McCree onto Beppo. Beppo gets taken out by Glitch. Your teammate goes down shortly thereafter with a headshot from Frosty. And all the kills coming in now for Q for Quarantine as they're able to start ticking up this percentage.
Frosty is just getting so much value on this McCree and really punishing Beppo. And especially with the point presence they gained really early in that fight, forcing SEAL Team Spuds into a bad position. Q for Quarantine, once they have that point presence, it's really hard to get them off. And especially when you have that high ground advantage, even if it's just the staircase, it's still very, very important.
Yeah, Spuds looking to take a high ground rotation here. They initiate with a window, but unfortunately aren't able to take anybody out. In fact, your teammate is the one that actually goes down first. Tyre coming in, is able to find the May. Doesn't have Cryo up. Unfortunately, Rare Soccer goes down to Frosty, though. Frosty just having one heck of a game here. Big shatter coming through from Louise. But Luckily for Potato Org, they were able to briefly capture some percentage on the point, but only soon thereafter getting forced back out by Louise and the rest of Quarantine. Looking like Potato Org here is going to end up having to look to regroup once again.
55% in the point now for a Q for Quarantine. And we're looking at Rare Soccer's beat, Beppo's Shatter, and Seraph's High Noon here. So a lot of ults for SEAL Team Spuds as well. Frosty, once again, really taking these angles and punishing any...
Oh my
oh,
god, that was a
oh.
dirty window High Noon. Why you gotta do Seraph like that? All he wanted to do was pop a High Noon of his own, gets shut down hard by the opposing Batiste and McCree, and looks like another regroup for Potato Org here, and they're heading into last fight territory. They do have a couple of ultimates coming online, though. Let's see if Beppo's going to be able to hit a shatter here.
Yeah, and Meow MC with this Mail as well. It's going to be very, very hard to get on this point, especially with Kara's Bomb. Just so many zoning ults, and it's just going to be hard to get it out.
Shatter gets blocked, unfortunately, for Beppo by Louise, and that's not really going to give them a big foothold here on the point, but the window comes out mid-fight. Maybe this is the sustain that the Potato Org is looking for. Shatter blocked by Beppo. Seraph going down to Frosty, unfortunately. Beppo takes out two with a single fire strike, takes out both Louise and Glitch, and Meow MC going down to Death Knot. It does look like the Spuds here are going to be able to turn this one around.
And Kiddo with that eat onto the May ultimate, and SEAL Team Spuds just cleaning up the rest of Q for Quarantine. It's definitely an impressive eat. It was not an easy or predictable one there. Meow MC's Blizzard getting eaten already halfway to that ultimate again, though. Luis has the Shatter as well, as so does Beppo, so we're going to see a little bit of Ryan v. Ryan here. See who can get that Shatter off as Q4 Quarantine go and try to make it to the point. 25% for SEAL Team Spuds right now as Q4 Quarantine re-engage.
Tire coming in from Death Knot. Let's see if he's going to be able to take anybody out. Unfortunately, gets taken out by the opposing May. Q for Quarantine has a bunch of ultimates coming here, but a huge Shatter hit by Beppo. Unfortunately, gets taken out. We got kills getting traded out here on both sides, but it does look like Potato Org is going to be able to eke this one out in its favor. But the freeze gets committed by Meow MC, and they're able to take out Death Knot. Are they going to be able to find the freeze onto Rare Soccer BG? They do, and they confirm the kill. Potato Org only looking to be able to stall here, as they don't really have much presence left here on the point. Immortality Field goes down on the side of Potato Org. High Noon comes in on the side of Frosty. Both High Noons come in. Frosty getting the better exchange. As I say that, Seraph goes ahead and finds two of his own. Kills going back and forth here. This fight is absolutely insane. Potato Org looks to be bringing it back here. During this entire fight, they maintain control of the point here. It finally does get flipped over, but this still looks to be a fight that Potato Org is going to be able to pull out if they can sustain here. Beppo under a lot of pressure here from Q for Quarantine. It gets taken out. He and Rare Soccer BG get taken out. Bomb comes in on the side of Kiddo. Is able to find a Nook on the opposing side, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough as both your teammate and Death Knot get taken down on the side of Potato Org. Louise currently on point, spinning to win. The only Potato left on the point is Rare Soccer BG, and he's not able to touch in time. Nepal goes the way of Quarantine.
Definitely a very, very even match there. We saw a lot from both teams, and when you're looking at both main tanks and both off tanks, they seem very, very even. Overall, this matchup, it's incredible to see both sides really go back and forth. The Shatters from Beppo coming down, as well as you'll see Luis coming down with those Shatters as well. We saw that eat as well. From Kiddo, definitely impressive stuff from both teams, and I do not think SEAL Team Spuds are out of this yet.
No, absolutely not. I definitely agree with you there. Definitely look like two evenly matched teams going into this. But unfortunately, with SEAL Team Spuds losing that map, that is going to drop them down into Group C for Stage 2. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be out of the playoff hunt yet, but they are going to be fighting for their lives in Group C for that playoff berth now that they've lost a map, unable to climb up into Group B. So congratulations to Q for Quarantine for making it into Group B. However, that does not mean that the Spuds are just going to lay down and let Q for Quarantine gain this victory. Spuds are in desperate need of a W in the win column here and would certainly like to go into Stage 2 with a healthy amount of momentum.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So, do we know? So, it does look as if our next map is going to be Volsky Industries for our 2CP map. What are you expecting to see here from both sides here, OC?
Well, here for SEAL Team Spuds, Dwang is going to be in on the support line for SEAL Team Spuds, pulling out the big strats now, for sure, on the 2CP. Hopefully, we won't see a Droskaya, but it's Droskaya. Of course, you see it like every 2 seconds. But definitely, we see that switch coming through. Could change things up for SEAL Team Spuds. We'll just have to see this new support line come through.
Absolutely. Can we get a D-Wang gang in the chat, please? Any Spuds in the chat? D-Wang gang in the chat? There we go. So going into Volskaya here, definitely another map that lends itself to brawl compositions. Haven't really seen any other type of comp variation from either side really so far. So not really looking to see any double bubble here. Yeah, and as the comps come live here, definitely looking as if both teams are going to be running another Brawl v Brawl mirror, with the only variation being Spuds running the Hanzo instead of the Mei. Now the Mei in this composition, as we all know, is a huge win condition for any brawl composition. You're looking to engage with that wall, right? And then you're looking to separate somebody or several members of the enemy team off, and then you speed into them and you wreck their faces in an ideal world. So with Death Knot on the Hanzo here, they're looking to play a little bit more spam variation of the brawl composition. Let's see if they're going to be able to make it work here. As Q for Quarantine here is on the attack, looking to take a relatively frontal approach. Beppo holding fairly forward here. Let's see if Q for Quarantine is going to be able to punish this positioning at all. Making a rotation around the right side. They do find the wall. Beppo does get separated. Fortunately, the rest of his team is there to keep him alive, but for how long? Death Knot does get the initial pick onto Frosty, though. Huge headshot coming in from Death Knot, but Seraph getting taken down by Meow MC. Kills traded out from both sides, but it does look like Q for Quarantine are going to wait for Meow MC to get back into the fight before they push, seeing as they do have the spawn advantage. Another wall coming in from Meow MC. Not really able to separate anybody with that, but somehow able to find a kill onto Rare Soccer BG on the high ground of all places. Death Knot soon to follow, taken down by Nook. Kara does get deep mech, but I don't think that's going to be enough to keep the potatoes in the fight here. And it does look like Q for Quarantine are going to be able to secure this first point on Volskaya.
Here for SEAL Team Spuds, we got Dwang's window coming up as well. Death Knots, Dragons, no Grav to follow up with it though, and Glitch on the side of Q for Quarantine does have their window up as well. So definitely a few ultimates from both teams, but not much to work with here for either side. It's going to be more of a neutral fight here.
Yeah, let's see if Death Knot can secure the high ground here. Death Knot holding a little close here, as far as where you would typically want a Hanzo to be holding on second point here. But maybe they're just trying to, looking to use Dragon preemptively here. They do force out the Immortality Field, and they also force out Cryo from Meow MC. Definitely going to halt this progression from Q for Quarantine, but Q for Quarantine looking to engage on with a window of their own. They are able to separate Beppo. Beppo needs help. Help your man. Unfortunately, the Immortality Field comes out too late, and the freeze coming through from Meow MC, and all the ultimates coming through on the side of Q for Quarantine, able to start ticking up percentage. Is Potato Ore going to be able to touch? It doesn't. Unfortunately, Beppo gets stuck on the wall coming out of spawn, and a ridiculously fast time coming through for Q for Quarantine. 4 minutes and 51 seconds they have in the bank here.
Yeah, they're the walls from Meow MC. It's really difficult to play against a Mei Brawl composition when you don't have a Mei of your own. And when you have such a strong engage tool, Q for Quarantine are just really taking advantage of that, separating off Beppo and taking him down before the fight could really even. I mean, that was their engage, and it was strong. And once that came out, the rest of the ultimates came out from Q for Quarantine, and it really snowballed from there.
Absolutely, and I'm interested to see if the rest of the taters here start whispering into Death Knot's ear, maybe get him to run a May of their own, quite possibly, maybe unlikely. We'll see. But unfortunately, it does look like they're going to be coming out of spawn on the Hanzo still. There is a way to be able to make this work. It's just really going to force the Hanzo to like take high ground positions because unfortunately, with the May still being played by Q for Quarantine, it's really going to be able to mitigate a lot of that potential value that the Hanzo could have just by blocking that line of sight and creating that separation and space for your team by that the epic wall placement that Meow MC has been able to find with these walls. But coming out of spawn here, still both teams running brawl centric compositions here. It looks as if Potato Org is looking to come through main choke here. Let's see what type of rotation they're looking to make. Looking like as they're coming right side rotation. Are they going to be able to find Louise out here? Nope. Still rotating all the way to the right. Big wall coming in from Meow MC, but luckily they do break it relatively fast, and Louise goes down to a charge by Beppo. Beppo absolutely carrying this team on his back right now with 2 kills to start the fight. The only person really left to be able to contest the point here is Kara, and in short order, in fact, I think it's actually a faster time currently than what Q for Quarantine was able to hit on their first point capture. Let's see if Potato Org is going to be able to carry this momentum into second point.
Yes, the SEAL team there, Beppo was in a really bad position there for a few seconds. And with Meow MC's wall, that was almost it for that engage. But SEAL team Spuds were able to break that wall fast enough to save Beppo. And that was definitely some impressive demonstration of teamwork there.
Yeah, you'll love to see that type of main tank play. Spuds looking to take that high ground on the right-hand side here, looking for an opening or be able to contest the point. Wall coming in from Meow MC. Isn't really able to find the separation that he's been able to get, but the shatter gets blocked by Louise. Huge shatter. Deadeye coming in from Frosty, doesn't find anybody. Rare Soccer does take out the opposing Lucio, but then gets taken out by Frosty. However, Seraph is able to pick 2 of his own. This might be the opening that Potato Org is looking for, but as I say that, Beppo goes down, and as we all know, 2CP does lend itself to a snowball effect. Once one member of the attacking team goes down, it's very, very difficult for them to maintain their footing here as the respawns come in for Q for Quarantine. Are they going to be able to touch in succession here to be able to keep this point alive? Does look like Louise is able to touch point, but gets slept as he touches point, but he's there with the Mei. So with the Ryan and the Meow MC and the freeze coming through, but unfortunately the freeze doesn't encompass the entirety of the point. So Potato Org is still able to contest the point, and Louise and Nanook both go down. Doesn't look like Q for Quarantine is going to be able to contest this for much longer, as the only remaining member is the Ball, and with the Diva Bomb coming in, is able to clear up any remaining stragglers on the point. Louise is able to get a final touch with the Lucio, but the Louise gets antied, gets taken down immediately. Lucio goes down, and we are going into overtime.
All right, next round. We've got over 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes exactly for SEAL Team Spuds and 2:20 for Q for Quarantine. Really still even. Both teams having a bit of trouble in the defense. Dwayne was definitely throwing out that sustain for SEAL Team Spuds, just keeping them alive, and with Seraph just not missing enough so that SEAL Team Spuds could really just start picking down members of Q4 Quarantine. Once a few members of a Brawl composition fall, everything kind of falls apart from there. And then the contest game, Q for Quarantine were able to buy themselves maybe a minute, but that was about all they could get before SEAL Team Spuds could take that point. And it looks like we're going to see similar compositions coming out from both teams. Kiddo now still opting for the Diva. We saw Kiddo initially starting on the Zarya, not really getting as much value as they wanted to get out of it. and Kara on the Diva as well. Really, here the Diva is just so strong because you can eat the Graviton, and also you can you can really control the high ground of Volskai, especially his first point that has an abundance.
Yeah, Diva definitely, that type of a hero that can really come across as oppressive to the opposing DPS. So let's see if this Diva pick is going to be able to pay off on the side of Q for Quarantine here. Excuse me, on the side of Potato Org. Potato Org looking to make the same rotation, but it gets blocked off by the May wall. Death not getting caught behind, and he does get taken out by Frosty. Q for Quarantine looking to get aggressive maybe here into this room now that they have this man advantage, gathering their resources here. Kiddo looking to peek a little bit, doing a little bit of damage, but unfortunately it looks like the Potatoes are just stuck in this room, and it looked to be a battle of attrition here as Louise got Louise poking from the right, and you got the rest of the team poking from the left, and ultimately, one by one, the Potatoes are just getting absolutely fried here in this room. With the staggers continuing to come in on the side of Q for Quarantine. Full reset coming through for the Potatoes. It looks like they're going to be in last fight territory here.
Meow MC, once again, really doing a lot of work in preventing SEAL Team Spuds from making these rotations for free, and really just able to trap them in the room. May is scary. They just buffed May.
Can confirm. No, but the attack coming in on the side of Potatoes, and they are able to section off Louise. Louise gets taken down first, and that might be the opening that the Potatoes need in order to be able to find some footing here on to point A of Volskaya. Frosty gets taken down by Death Knot. The shatter comes through from Beppo. Beppo gets he gets nanoed, but unfortunately gets frozen. Frosty goes down, and with only three remaining members on the side of Q for Quarantine, it does look as if in overtime, well, practically overtime, the Potatoes are going to be able to capture point A, which is going to allow them a solid 30 seconds to push into point B here.
It seems a lot like Q for Quarantine really put a lot of their strategy into their May walls, and once that May wall drops, they have a lot of trouble in their fight, especially in that mid fight when that wall drops. And if they really didn't get the pick that they needed, then SEAL Team Spuds have tended to take the fight after that. So really taking advantage of that, just trying to prevent the engage from Meow MC.
Yeah, lots of ults coming through here on both sides. It does look as if Q for Quarantine has a few more ultimates in their bank, though, and it looks to be the advantage that they need in order to be able to close this overtime round out. But I do think that with 2 minutes there, you take those if you're Potato Org with finding the full cap on point A.
Here, we are looking at a still, once again, not really a huge advantage for either side. 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock for Q for Quarantine. Absolutely doable. What we're probably going to see is the Diva from both sides coming out, and Death Knot really apparently needed the warm-up map. Now really popping off on the Hanzo as well. And SEAL Team Spuds are taking advantage of that Hanzo, and they're getting the value out of it. And right now, Q for Quarantine, once again, their May engages are really strong when they land. But when they don't land after that, they tend to have a little trouble keeping sustain and staying alive, especially with Seraph's McCree and Death Knot really dishing out the damage, and Beppo on the main tank just absolutely pushing Q for Quarantine back. It's a struggle, and both sides really with their own respective brawling strategies here. It's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, we had our doubts with the Death Knot Hanzo coming out of spawn on their attack, but definitely finding ways to make it work, really abusing this high ground positioning, and unfortunately Meow MC just not finding the same amount of value on their wall placement as they did on their very first attack. But let's see if they can change it up here on their overtime attack. Right side rotation coming through on the side of Q for Quarantine, maybe looking to take high ground, but no, they come out low ground because they do find a wall onto Beppo, and Seraph actually gets taken out first. Speed boosting into Beppo here. Beppo getting caught out of position, running away from Q for Quarantine, begging, pleading for his life. Is Potato Org going to be able to keep him up? It does look they're going to be able to take him up for the time being. Immortality Field gets invested, and Frosty goes down again with that high ground positioning. from Death Knot. Nobody on the side of Q Quarantine really able to contest him outside of the D.Va. But the D.Va, if she leaves the Reinhardt, really is going to kind of leave him high and dry. So really just not really able to punish, this Hanzo pick from Death Knot. A regroup possibly coming in here for Q for Quarantine, but they're caught in a very awkward position. Window here gets invested, and they are able to take out Seraph again on the respawn before he's even able to make it back to point. And this might be the opportunity that Quarantine needs in order to be able to find a foothold here for their own point A take here in overtime. But with only a minute left here, Hanzo ult gets used, able to find a little bit of separation, but not really too much value, and it's looking like Q for Quarantine is just looking to regroup here.
Their SEAL Team Spuds managed to get Q for Quarantine in a really, really awkward and bad position. And from there, they really stalled it out. And now with only 40 seconds on the clock for Q for Quarantine, things are getting a little close, and I'd be worried. Especially with Meow MC does have that. We've got a few ultimates coming up for the tank line and Meow MC. So Q for Quarantine still have something to work with here in this next fight.
Window coming out first on the side of Potato Org, trying to punish that rotation from Q from Quarantine, but a huge freeze coming through from Meow MC, but unfortunately not able to secure any kills with it. And Beppo with the shatter, getting bubbled, really leading the charge for this Potato team. All that is left are a couple of stragglers on the side of Quarantine. The touch comes through from Kara, is able to find a kill onto Seraph, maybe finding an opening for Quarantine, being able to find it back onto this point. With the ball coming back into touch, I don't think it's going to be enough to displace the amount of sustain that the Potatoes currently have on this point. And map 2 Volskaya looks to be going the way of the Taters.
It seems as if SEAL Team Spuds have really found a hole in Q for Quarantine's place. And with Q for Quarantine relying on the walls coming out, if they don't drop, then SEAL Team Spuds are just free to really aggress onto Q for Quarantine, and it is scary. And Dwayne doesn't die. He just doesn't. Just dishing out the healing constantly, the immortalities, the amount of sustain coming out from the support line of SEAL Team Spuds is incredible. I have not seen much like it before. It's really, really strong. So definitely some really strong, just overall neutral plays from SEAL Team Spuds, definitely gaining the advantage in those fights where Q for Quarantine just aren't able to get that wall engage out from Meow MC.
Yeah, definitely surprised that I didn't see Quarantine try to take some maybe high ground rotations in order to be able to force both the Ana and the Hanzo off of the high ground before they made their way to point. But they were really putting all their eggs in that Maywall basket, trying to section off the opposing Reinhardt. But as they tried to punish him, it did look as if the Potatoes ended up, they're a keen bunch of taters. I mean, they started to figure out what Quarantine was doing to them, and they were able to keep Beppo alive long enough for those picks to come in from the likes of Death Knot and Seraph. And and it just at the end of the day, really, really nice adaptations on the side of the Potatoes here in order to be able to secure a solid map victory for them. But we're going to be heading into overtime here, ladies and gentlemen. We will see all of you nerds and gamers in about 10 minutes. And welcome back, gamers. Hope you enjoyed your short halftime break. Coming back into the action here, we are currently tied for maps here. Quarantine has one, SEAL Team Spuds has one. Brought it back there on Volskaya in a barn burner of a game, went into overtime. But unfortunately, Quarantine was not able to get any progress on that second point. And going into our third map, which is King's Row here. Interested to see if we're going to see maybe a little bit more brawl comp. What do you think, Hiroshi?
So here, King's Row, it is going to be interesting. Every team picks it. So we're definitely the brawl from both teams. And what I'm interested in seeing is what Kiddo chooses to play. And really, that's important because we've seen Death Knot on the Hanzo. And it really depends on if Kiddo is going to decide to go for the Zarya and look for that Grav Dragon combo, or if we're going to see Kiddo on the Diva, which is arguably when it comes to a tank line, a little bit stronger with the Reinhardt. So I'm expecting the Mei, of course, from Meow MC, and Kara on the Diva. So that's we're almost expecting that, but I'm really interested to see what is going to come out from SEAL Team Spuds here.
Absolutely. I think we're all interested in seeing that as well. Real quick here before the map starts, I do want to give a quick shout out to the charity that we're going to be collecting donations for, Rise Above the Disorder Gamers. If any of you nerds out there have an extra couple of bucks to donate for this amazing charity, which is going to be helping people with all sorts of mental health issues, definitely going to be collecting donations for that tonight. We'll be shouting you out in the chat if we see any donations come through. But from now all the way up until the end of event week, I'm definitely going to be collecting all sorts of donations. Hopefully, we'll be able to hit that 5K number. But getting back into the action here, we got both teams coming out on brawl compositions again. Same compositions that we've been seeing for the first couple of maps.
Well.
Yeah,
Kiddo's on that
absolutely.
Diva as well. So definitely SEAL Team Spuds switching things up.
Maywall coming through from Meow MC, able to section out Beppo again, but the Immortality Field saves his life, and they're able to extend the fight for just a little bit longer. Does look like Q for Quarantine trying to get some of their cooldowns back here, but in the process of doing so, Meow MC gets that headshot from Death Knot on the high ground, and it looks as if they're going to be looking to regroup.
Death Knot just dishing out that damage, and it seems that Kiddo is strong on this Diva, even though they haven't been on it this entire these last few maps for the entire time. They're definitely very comfortable on it, and it's really up to Meow MC here to land the wall engages to try and dismantle the defense from SEAL Team Spuds. And especially Death Knot on the high ground here, they're going to have to deal with that as well.
Yeah, I like this rotation, though. Coming through a hotel, it really eliminates a lot of the line of sight that Death Knot has. He can only really attack them from one spot, and he actually gets taken out by the Diva from long range of all heroes. And with that pickoff, it does look like Q for Quarantine is going to be able to cap out this first point here on King's Row.
Quarantine were definitely able to recognize that Death Knot is a threat, and making that rotation through hotel, they were able to diminish the value Death Knot could get. And now SEAL Team Spuds regrouping, they have the dragons ready to go from Death Knot, as well as the High Noon. Frosty has their High Noon as well as Luis's Shadow. So a few ults from both teams as Q played pretty aggressive here.
Absolutely. Big Dragon coming through from Death Knot and takes down Louise. Gets a triple kill. Death Knot putting on a show, trying to get that MVP status coming through. And with that triple kill from Death Knot, it does look as if the SEAL Team Spuds here are going to be able to hold this archway on King's Row.
Definitely. And here we've got the hard choke, especially with the payload. Extremely difficult to push. We're probably going to see Meow MC's ultimate come through. Maybe Kiddo can look for the eat on that, as well as Luis's Shatter and Frosty's High Noon.
Yeah, Q for Quarantine does make their way through the arches here. Shatter comes through, does hit 3, but are they going to be able to follow up on it? No, it doesn't look like it, because Dwayne does get the Immortality Field out. Bomb coming in on the side of Kara does find Beppo, but a defensive window coming through from Dwayne slows down the approach of Q for Quarantine just a little bit, but with another pick onto Seraph, they're just going to push right on through, looking to maybe find some stagger kills here, heading all the way to the spawn of SEAL Team Spuds.
Here we got 3:30 on the clock, and with Meow MC's pick on the Death Knot, it's going to be difficult for the recontest to come out from SEAL Team Spuds as they try to regroup at the entrance, and Q for Quarantine being really, really restrictive here.
Oh, Dwayne going down late here. Unfortunately, I think that's going to stick a fork in any opportunity that the SEAL Team Spuds ended up having in contesting second point here, and it just looks as if they're going to have to run away with their tail between their legs and hope for the best here in the Foundry phase of King's Row.
We've got the beat and the window for Q for Quarantine, as well as the mailed here. So definitely a few things to work with. Probably going to look for engage with that coming up on this corner. SEAL Team Spuds, Beppo pushing up here.
Yeah, window coming through from Glitch is going to make a lot of space for Quarantine here. SEAL Team Spuds ends up having to back all the way around the corner and give up even more space to Q for Quarantine. Dragon coming through from Death Knot, though. Is he going to be able to take out Louise? No, Louise backs out of it. Immortality Field used, though. Big freeze coming in from Meow MC, but it's countered by the beat from Rare Soccer BG with everybody frozen and the Immortality Field coming down in order to be able to save Beppo, but it's not enough to save Death Knot. Death Knot goes down, Kiddo gets demeched, High Noon coming through from Seraph to be able to slow the advance of Q for Quarantine, but is it going to be enough to stall their attack?
And here,
coming in from Frosty, takes down Kiddo with a shatter coming in from Beppo, takes down 2. Follow-up comes in from Rare Soccer BG, and at the 11th hour, Beppo carrying this team on his back, able to rebuff the attack of Quarantine.
SEAL Team Spuds just barely holding on. 3 minutes on the clock. Q for Quarantine have plenty of time to build their ultimates here. Already have 3 ready for this next fight. It's going to be a difficult fight with nothing ready to go for SEAL Team Spuds here. They're going to have to play smart here and just prevent a hard engage from Q for Quarantine.
Yeah, Quarantine definitely has some ultimates to use here. Let's see what they're going to leave with. They're going to be able to hit this big shatter. Let's see if Louise is going to be able to pull it off. Beppo's shield's getting low. He gets sectioned off by a Maywall. Are they going to be able to punish it? No, he's able to back off behind the payload, but the bomb comes in. Does he able to block? Beppo blocks the shatter, or he stops the bomb coming in, but it's still able to pick off Kiddo. But an even bigger bomb and even bigger picks coming through from SEAL Team Spuds as both Seraph and Kiddo lead the charge in this team fight win for SEAL Team Spuds.
Death Knot's Dragons just coming out at the perfect times. Really able to use it to counter Luis's shatter, really preventing any follow-up from being able to come out from Q for Quarantine. As 2 ultimates were invested there, so not much to work with for either side for this next fight. And it's difficult for Meow MC to really look for these engages through the walls. Really having a little bit of...
Getting down to under 2 minutes here left on the attack for Q for Quarantine. A huge shatter coming through from Beppo. Oh my goodness, this guy's back has to hurt so effing much. But unfortunately gets taken down because he's overextended, and Frosty capitalizes with a dead eye of his own, and Q for Quarantine now on the attack, headed towards the spawn of SEAL Team Spuds.
Beppo going for a really high-risk, high-reward play there. Unfortunately, it did not pay off as Q for Quarantine were able to just punish the aggression.
Big freeze coming through from Meow MC. It's really inhibiting anybody from SEAL Team Spuds from touching the payload, but the huge boop coming through from Rare Soccer BG is potentially this game-saving move that the SEAL Team Spuds are going to need. All they need to do now is clean up the remaining forces left from Q for Quarantine, taking out both Frosty and Meow MC, and back to spawn with you, Quarantine, coming back in here with only less than a minute remaining.
Rare Soccer in the spotlight now, booping half of Q for Quarantine back to spawn. And now in this next fight, Death Knot has another one of those dragons. Definitely interested to see how SEAL Team Spuds use it to engage here, most likely.
Yeah, and Diva takes the high ground here, able to pepper in a little bit of damage. Dragon does come through and gets nice separation on the side of Death Knot. Able to find both Frosty and Glitch. Death Knot absolutely popping off. This guy is actually cracked. And the follow-up coming through from both Beppo and Kiddo. We are down to last fight territory here, folks.
We've got 16 seconds on the clock now. Both Kara and Frosty have their ultimates as well as Nanook, so probably going to see a beat engage as Q4 Quarantine are going to scramble to the point, going for the contest. 5 seconds now.
Big wall coming through, and they're able to find Death Knot out of position. This is going to put a lot of pressure on Beppo. Beppo does not have his Shatter up yet, and he doesn't really have any shield left to be able to block this High Noon coming through from Frosty. Rare Soccer BG goes off the map. I'm not necessarily sure what happened there. We don't talk about it, but the picks come through for Q for Quarantine, and it's just cleanup here in overtime for Q for Quarantine on Kings Row in the 11th hour. Pushes it through the finish line.
Nanook's beat engage there was definitely what allowed Q for Quarantine to really get their point presence and push SEAL Team Spuds into a disadvantaged position there out in the open. And once SEAL Team Spuds were split, it was really difficult for them to counterattack and kind of push back in to Q for Quarantine. So definitely some support plays coming out, and Glitch as well. That entire round really was able to pump out the healing and even really come up to the standards of Dwang. So definitely pulling out the big heals. And Q for Quarantine are doing a little bit of a better job than they did on Volskaya with their sustain, and they're definitely putting up a fight. And it looks like they did only capture in overtime, so most likely they're going here for to at least hold Kings Row to overtime. It's definitely a bit of a challenge here. So
yeah, absolutely no lack of talent on either of these rosters. I guess that's why it's so closely matched. But going on to SEAL Team Spud's offense here, maybe looking to see a little bit of change up here. I don't know if Kiddo is memeing on the monkey. Maybe slightly, quite possibly. All right, this Ryan's already looking a little bit more consistent with what they've been running so far. Still sticking on the Ana, though, really enabling this Reinhardt. But the only drawback of this is they can easily cut off this Ana healing with a well-placed Mei wall. So let's see what type of engage that SEAL Team Spuds is looking for here.
yeah, Dwayne was really strong on the on Volskaya, so I'm definitely looking to see some Mei plays, some Ana plays coming out here.
Yep, just a little poking here from SEAL Team Spuds. They have established presence here on the point and take this initial corner on Hotel, but the flashbang comes through onto Beppo, not able to secure the kill into Beppo. It does force out Immortality Field from the side of Q for Quarantine. Both teams just vying for position here at Hotel. Who's going to be able to last longer? All of the heals on planet Earth getting pumped into Beppo right now to keep him alive, and the sustain just proves to be too much for SEAL Team Spuds, able to carry this fight all the way through and capping first point, as long as they actually have bodies on first point to cap it. Yes, they do. And even with Beppo getting picked on the charge into quarantine spawn, they are going to have more than enough time to regroup here for the streets phase.
Yeah, and here Q for Quarantine, they did not get any bad spawns here, so they will be able to hold a bit closer, but it looks like they're going to opt for the back corner, but they're pushing in hard here now.
Oh, big pick coming in on Meow MC before the fight even starts, really. Which is going to leave, it's going to give a huge opportunity here for SEAL Team Spuds to push all the way into streets here. Unfortunately, the Shatter does not land for Beppo. Gets blocked by Louise. Dragon coming through as well from Death Knot, but unfortunately not be able to catch anything with that either. Nice kiting on the side of Q for Quarantine. Really beating out these ultimates from SEAL Team Spuds.
And here, Luis has that Shatter ready to go the window, dropping from Glitch.
Absolutely huge window coming through from Glitch, being able to take out both of the tanks from SEAL Team Spuds, and that's going to put SEAL Team Spuds in full retreat mode as they S-key all the way into their own spawn.
It seems Kiddo and Death Knot really aren't on the same page with the Gravitons and the Dragons. Death Knot just throwing out the Dragons whenever they really want to, so maybe here we'll see Kiddo try and wait for the Grav, but we'll see.
Big Mei ult coming in here through for Meow MC, but unfortunately gets taken down immediately, isn't able to cryo in time, but the value might still be there as they're able to take down two from the resulting of the Mei ult. Big beat coming through to counter the Graviton surge from Kiddo, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough as the sustain is just otherworldly for SEAL Team Spuds, powering through that grab surge, going into this last fight here in Streets phase for Kings Row.
Once again, Death Knot has that dragon, but Kiddo just used the Graviton, unfortunately, so no combo on the side of Seal Team Spuds. Luis, Kara, and Frosty all have their ultimates ready to go, so I have no doubt that Q for Quarantine have a chance to really recontest here.
The shatter is massive! It's absolutely massive for Beppo! Can anybody block a shatter from this man? I don't think so. It doesn't look like it. And Streets phase has been all but secured for SEAL Team Spuds. Heading into the Foundry here, though, do you think that they're going to find any difficulty for any of the DPS contesting high ground here for Q for Quarantine? It doesn't look like any swaps coming through.
Not really, and Death Knot is just going to be able to dominate on the high ground here, be able to build those dragons extremely quickly. Rare Soccer has that beat available as well, and it looks like looking for the engage now for Q for Quarantine.
Yeah, beat engage. It doesn't look like they're engaging all too fast, though. The Diva Bomb gets dropped in the middle of the SEAL Team Spuds. Big block coming through from both Kiddo and Beppo. High Noon coming through from Seraph, able to pick off Glitch. Beppo picks out Meow MC, and it does look as if the SEAL Team Spuds is going to be able to push this into the final point with more than 4 minutes remaining as staggers only come through for Q for Quarantine. Kara not able to touch the point, and all SEAL Team Spuds needs to do is find a single tick in a span of a whopping 4-minute time bank that they've secured themselves.
Luis with the interesting contest pick on the Roadhog at the end, unfortunately just getting immediately shot down into the void by Rare Soccer. Rare Soccer really strong in the third point with those boops. And now 4 minutes on the clock to only capture one tick for SEAL Team Spuds. Things aren't looking good for Q for Quarantine right now. And maybe some swaps will have to come through to either counter Death Knot or just overall to really play a bit faster, possibly, against SEAL Team Spuds, who they tend to play a little pokier, right? They take their time. And with Dwaying on the sustain, they tend to win a war of attrition. And that is really where Death Knot can shine. And we're most likely going to see that come out in this final round here.
You know what Quarantine needs? They need a Bastion. But instead of a Bastion, we get the next best thing, and it does look like they're going to be matching Death Knot on the Hanzo, forcing Quarantine off of their comfort picks here. Let's see if Frosty is going to be up to the task to match this awfully powerful Hanzo that we've seen come through from Death Knot so far.
Carrot on the Zarya as well, probably going to be looking for the Grab Dragon combination with Frosty.
Absolutely, definitely a solid win condition option here for Quarantine. Looks like SEAL Team Spuds looking to make their way to the point here. They do find Beppo just sticks his baby toe on the corner of the point, finally is able to take the opposing corner, but the wall comes through, ends up having to back out. He gets a bubble, so they do have sustain. They do find presence on the point, and now it's Louise who's in trouble. Frosty gets taken out, Glitch gets taken out, Meow MC gets taken out. Nanook is able to find a retaliatory kill on Seraph, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough, and SEAL Team Spuds end up taking King's Row to go up 2-1 in the series.
Yeah, here, the way that SEAL Team Spuds are playing their brawl is really unique, and how they were angles, and especially utilizing Death Knot's Hanzo when they took those angles, setting up Death Knot behind the statue while having the Zarya in Hotel as well, just pressuring every single angle. Q for Quarantine were really indecisive about who they actually wanted to rush and who they wanted to brawl on, and the longer they stayed at that corner on point, the more time it gave for Death Knot to make the play that SEAL Team Spuds needs. And that's really where they gained the ultimate advantage on that first point, and were just able to dismantle Q for Quarantine.
Absolutely. You heard it here, folks. I just want to give a quick shout out for anybody here in the chat who isn't aware that Event Week is going on next week. Hype Train. On Monday, we're going to kick everything off with the podcasters, 1v1s. Anybody here that either has already or is willing to donate $10, they get to choose for themselves which podcaster you want to 1v1. Any hero. It's going to be a blast. Hopefully, we get somebody that chooses to 1v1 somebody other than Bard, because I think Bard has a list about yay long of people that want to 1v1 him for some reason. Not necessarily sure why, but I'm just glad that Bard's popularity has garnered the amount of support that it has for this charity drive. So big shout out to Bard in the chat. But going into our escort map here, our options look to be what? Havana, Junkertown, and
Route 66.
Route 66. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And it looks like Route 66 is being chosen here by Q for Quarantine. What do you expect to come out from our teams here on such an open map? Do you think we're going to see Brawl?
Here, I expect brawl from both teams. I expect a double bubble, and I don't really expect any sort of ball composition either. Both teams seem really, really comfortable on their brawl, and I feel that Route 66 might actually give SEAL Team Spuds a bit of an advantage with how they like to play their brawl, with how many angles they like to take and how slow they like to take it. They really want to set up Death Knot, and they want to set up their engages. Q for Quarantine have had a lot of trouble with that. And when there's just so much range and so much distance for Q for Quarantine to cover in their brawl that really has been relying on Meow MC's May, it's going to be difficult for Q for Quarantine here. And I am definitely expecting the Hanzo from Death Knot. Guarantee you. And we're probably going to see Kiddo on the Zarya here as well, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely seems to be a map that the Hanzo can get quite a bit of value on. And you did see that Frosty swapped over to the Hanzo on King's Row in an attempt to match it, but in the end, it just didn't prove to be enough to slow down this freight train that currently seems to be what the SEAL Team Spuds are riding. Let's see if they're going to be able to carry that momentum here onto Route 66, as it does look like we got both teams coming out on brawl composition still.
Yep, both teams on brawl. Meow MC switching things up. Obviously, not going for the Mei here on such an open map, going for the Genji. So definitely different. Frosty on the Hanzo, once again, going to try and contest Death Knot's legendary Hanzo. And Kara and Kiddo both on the Zarya. So different compositions from both teams. And we've got Glitch on the Ana as well, and the Nuke on the Mercy. So no Lucio speed boost on the side of Q for Quarantine. Some interesting composition choices.
Can we get a poll in the chat as to who thinks this Genji pick from Meow is a throw pick? Can we get a poll? I'm interested to see what people think about that.
Wow. Okay.
But both teams running the brawl here with the Genji pick coming through for Q for Quarantine here. Not very, very interested to see what type of value he's going to be able to bid. But the first pick coming through, per usual fashion from Death Knot here, big headshot coming through onto Frosty, the opposing Hanzo. Seraph coming through, picking out the Genji. And this first fight definitely looking to be a solid victory on the side of SEAL Team Spuds.
The fact that Q for Quarantine are not running a Lucio here actually really helps the SEAL Team Spuds, because Death Knot plays for the slow fight. And SEAL Team Spuds are relying on Death Knot to be getting that value.
Absolutely. But as you say, that Nanook does swap to the Lucio, which allows Quarantine to make this rotation through Mega Pack. Unfortunately, Frosty gets taken down again by his Hanzo counterpart and Death Knot, but Beppo gets taken out by Louise, MTDing all over his face. But unfortunately, Louise gets taken down by Kiddo. Kiddo goes down to Meow MC, and finally, Quarantine able to finally get some payload progress here with some stagger kills coming through. Only Beppo does come back into the fight, however, and seems to be pushing the remainder of Q for Quarantine's forces back.
Q for Quarantine trying to get a quick reset here, already preparing to engage once again. Luis has this shatter.
Absolutely. The big Deadeye coming through from Seraph, able to take out Meow MC on the Genji, and just like that, with a with a charge coming through from Beppo, able to rebuff this third attack attempt from Q for Quarantine with only 2 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and here, Kiddo and Death Knot, both, Kiddo is coming up on that ultimate. Death Knot has the dragon, most likely going to be looking for this combo soon that is going to be scary for the side of Q for Quarantine as they attempt a high ground engage.
Yeah, definitely looking to come through the top caves here is Q for Quarantine.
And here it is.
But we see the combo come through, the Grab Dragon finally showing in spades, and Death Knot vying for the MVP status. Kills for D-Wang Gang picking up the 5th kill, Seraph picking up the 6th, and back to spawn for Q for Quarantine, heading into last fight territory here potentially.
Only Death Knot and Kiddo's ultimates used there, leaving Beppo with this Shatter and Dwang with this beat as well, which can be used to counter the Blade that might be coming out from Meow MC, as we have 1 minute on the clock, and Q for Quarantine once again going for this high ground rotation, trying to get Kiddo off this high ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking to come through tunnels again. Let's see if Beppo's going to be able to hit a shatter here, but it looks like Beppo's backing all the way off, giving up a lot of space here for Q for Quarantine. The beat coming in to counter the Nano Blade for Meow MC. Is Meow MC going to be able to find anything? He does find Death Knot, who's proven to be the thorn in Q for Quarantine side, but a big shatter coming through from Beppo and a big retaliatory dragon coming through from Frosty. Louise gets the charge kill on Dwang, and all the cleanup kills coming through for Q for Quarantine. Is this going to be enough, though, for them to be able to secure point A on Route 66?
We've really only got Seraphs and your teammates' ultimates coming up for this next fight for SEAL Team Spuds as they go for the contest. 13 seconds on the clock. If they can take it here, they can hold first point. Nanook does have this beat, though.
Big recontest coming through for SEAL Team Spuds. The high noon being popped by Seraph on the high ground, but unfortunately for him, Q for Quarantine hunkers down underneath Big Earls and isn't able to find any value out of the high noon or the window that they use. While Beat coming through on the side of Q for Quarantine, looking to get aggressive here, and they just press all of the W's into Beppo's face, delete him from the server, and cap point A.
Massive anti-nade from Glitch there in that fight. Once Beppo was antied, really only forced to try and jump back, but just taken down very, very quickly by Q for Quarantine. What I've been noticing is really similar to what we've noticed on King's Row as well, and that's that Q for Quarantine really gain the advantage once they're able to reach SEAL Team Spuds and really be on top of them. When Luis can really get up in Beppo's face and the rest of SEAL Team Spuds, they get shut down relatively quickly, and SEAL Team Spuds are playing this brawl comp almost like a poke comp, and it's working for them with Death Knot just taking these angles, and they're playing for this.
Oh, another grab dragon combo coming through for SEAL Team Spuds, isn't able to take out Louise, and unfortunately, with the main tank down on the side of Q for Quarantine, definitely going to send them back to spawn and forcing them to regroup for another contest at Streets Face here in Route 66.
Once again, this section of the map is really, really strong for Hanzo. So Death Knot is going to have a field day here, and it looks like it's really up to Kara on the side of Q for Quarantine to try and contest Death Knot, and now Q for Quarantine pushing in. Their rotations here really matter because they just need to find a way to get on top of SEAL Team Spuds. Otherwise, Death Knot is going to pick them down one by one.
Yeah, definitely a lot of ultimates coming in here for Q for Quarantine, but unfortunately the pick coming through before they're even able to engage by Death Knot picking off the opposing. Lucio and Meow MC follow suit. High Noon comes in from Seraph just to be able to clean up the rest of this fight, and the longer they continue to stagger this, it's just only going to further confirm that Q for Quarantine only has one fight remaining.
And that was brutal. Glitch's Nano mid-air when Meow MC is taken down. Now the blade is going to have to be dry from Meow MC. We got 30 seconds left on the clock. 5 ultimates for the side of Q for Quarantine, and a respectable amount of ultimates for SEAL Team Spuds as well. Definitely going to be a very chaotic fight coming up as both teams are going to be playing high ground.
Huge dragon coming through from Death Knot, though, putting down all that damage in the cave rotation that Q for Quarantine was trying to make. But the bomb in return from Kara takes out 2, and Louise takes Beppo off the map with him. He challenges Beppo. He says, "Not today. You can call my mother ugly. You can take my lunch money, but I am going to have the final say in what is sure to be the last contested fight here for Q for Quarantine, their last bastion of hope here. They do have control of this payload, and it does look like SEAL Team Spuds is going to have an opportunity to contest, but at what cost, OC? At what cost?
A lot of ultimates. That's the cost. Okay? Kara pulling out the bomb when it matters. But now, SEAL Team Spuds basically used all of their ultimates as well. Both teams going into pretty much a neutral fight here, but Frosty does have that high noon here.
Big punch coming through from Meow MC and takes out Death Knot, but is quickly taken down in return by Seraph. But the huge Deadeye coming through from Frosty, taking out 2, make that 3, and the immortality Immortality, make that 4. It's a human highlight reel. Frosty secures Streets phase single-handedly for Q for Quarantine, and now we are headed into now that we're headed into the third phase of Route 66 here. Are you expecting to see any compositional changes from Q for Quarantine?
Most likely not, especially because right now, Death Knot, this isn't as good of a section of the map for Death Knot here. Not as much high ground, not as open, and it really benefits Q for Quarantine. As once again, last fight, we really saw them. They do very, very well in these very close situations where Beppo can't really kite them hard.
It does look like Q for Quarantine swaps to the Reinhardt here, looking to get aggressive with the Coalescence, but unfortunately has to back off because of the high noon, and a huge shatter coming through from Beppo. Unfortunately, combos it with a grab and isn't able to secure any kills. Actually, kills are coming through for Q for Quarantine, able to successfully kite all of those ultimates invested by SEAL Team Spuds. And at the end of the day, it's Q for Quarantine who is pushing SEAL Team Spuds to their own spawn doors.
And there, Kara pulling out the DM, managing to eat the dragon from Death Knot. Now, Q for Quarantine only have your teammates' window to work with as they recontest. 17 seconds on the clock.
Big bomb coming and tossed in by Kara. Is it going to be able to find anybody? No, and in fact, it's Kara that's actually get taken down before she's able to remech. Immortality used on the side of SEAL Team Spuds. Shatter does not connect on the side of Louise, but he does have the Coalescence to keep him up, but it's not enough. Both Louise and MeowMC get taken down, and in overtime, is this it? Is this the last we've seen of Q for Quarantine on their Route 66 attack? With the Graviton Surge coming in, I do believe that is the case.
There, Dwayne's beat just really allowed. Oh, the contest coming through though, and Luis's mech is gonna get down. And yeah, that's gonna be round 2. Right, we got to the second point here, 66.68 meters for Q for Quarantine, and Dwayne there with that beat really turned the fight. Especially because you see all of the ultimates that Q for Quarantine had coming up for that fight, and Dwayne was able to really scare them out of it, and they didn't really get as much value as they wanted from those ultimates. I believe they had 4 up during that fight, and Dwayne, 1 beat, able to really just do that much work.
D-Wang Gang doing the thing. Can we get a D-Wang Gang in the chat? Also, for anybody asking in the chat, no, I do not breathe at all during my cast, so I currently have a vein about 6 inches in diameter popping out of the side of my forehead. So don't worry about me. My girlfriend is well-versed in first aid, so if I pass out in the middle of the cast, I'm in good hands. But going into Q for Quarantine's defense here, what are you expecting to see from both sides?
Here, both teams, Kara and Kiddo, respectively, on the Zarya once again. MeowMC sticking with that Doomfist pick. This is going to be a close map. And SEAL Team Spuds really going to have to rely on the Death Knot carry on the Hanzo. And Kiddo and Death Knot have been able to land those Grav Dragons. Can they land them enough to make it to that second point and overtake Q for Quarantine distance here?
Good questions all, sir. We're about to find out in about the next 5 seconds as SEAL Team Spuds walks out of spawn on a very, very similar composition, one that we've seen pretty much all day from them, and they've somehow been able to make it work against this more, conventional brawl composition on the side of Q for Quarantine. Both teams right now just kind of like poking at this corner here, vying for position on this payload. Doomfist contesting the Lucio D-Wang on the high ground, but unfortunately just both teams back and forth, but finally builds a shatter, and Beppo slams the hammer down on the ground, finds 2, and only after already securing 2 picks, gets taken down himself, but it does prove to be enough for SEAL Team Spuds to round this corner of Big Earls, but it does leave an opportunity here for Q for Quarantine to recontest.
All right, Thor, breathe, first of all. Second of all, Glitch now has the window for this next fight for the most part. This is going to be a neutral fight as Q for Quarantine go for this recontest.
Yeah, definitely recontest coming through for Q for Quarantine. Both Ryans battling out on the cart right now. Flashbang does connect with Beppo, but fortunately for him, he's around a corner and does not get taken down. He also gets a bubble. Both teams just vying for position on the cart right here, but the window does come down from your teammate, and that proves to be enough for SEAL Team Spuds in order to be able to take this fight. A late grab coming through from Kiddo. Kiddo, able to take down both the Zarya and Meow MC on the side of Q for Quarantine. And with this super scrappy fight, it does look as if SEAL Team Spuds is going to be able to find the picks needed in order to be able to secure point A.
Unfortunately, Kiddo was forced to commit the grab there, and now SEAL Team Spuds no longer have that Grab Dragon combo that has really done them well throughout this map. Although they do have Seraph's High Noon as well as Beppo's Shatter. I'd be scared of that Beppo Shatter. And Luis, Glitch, and Frosty all have their ultimates on the side of Q for Quarantine. Kara coming up on that grab. A lot of ultimates for Q for Quarantine. And it looks like they're going to be playing on this high ground, looking for a drop on SEAL Team Spuds rotation.
Yeah, Q for Quarantine already has this high ground, though, and Frosty is able to find the initial pick onto Death Knot. Big shatter coming through from Louise, but a return shatter from Beppo. It's even larger, but Beppo gets stunned out of his ability to be able to take advantage of that shatter. But at the end of the day, does find picks on both Louise and Nanook, and SEAL Team Spuds grinding their way through the street phase of Route 66.
There is a massive amount of clutch potential on the SEAL Team Spuds. You'll see them be down 1 or 2 in a fight, and they'll easily turn it back. And we saw Death Knot go down early in that fight, but it didn't matter. SEAL Team Spuds just turn it back. A Beppo Shatter drops. And now Kiddo coming back up on that grab. We might see a Grab Dragon here.
Yeah, who's getting this MVP, chat? Who's getting the MVP? Is it going to be Beppo or is it going to be Death Knot? Well, this will be another opportunity for them to prove their worth. But Louise gets the initial pick from a Fire Strike on the D-Wang 50. But a huge Grab Dragon! Oh my god! It's cosmic levels, amounts of awesome. Death Knot finding another 3 in pairing his dragon with the Graviton Surge from Kiddo, and and Streets phase on Route 66 is all SEAL Team Spuds. SEAL Team Spuds rolling into third point here. Is Q for Quarantine going to be able to stop this? I don't know.
This is the point that is going to decide whether this goes to a map 5, 4 minutes. Kara finding the early pick though.
Kiddo overextended, unfortunately gets punished, and now Q for Quarantine with a head of steam of their own, able to push back into SEAL Team Spuds all the way, W key into their spawn. No relenting in sight from Q for Quarantine.
On this third point, Death Knot just has less room to work with. Frosty is going to have their time to shine. Meow MC as well on this Doomfist, just going to get absolute value on this point.
Q for Quarantine, or excuse me, Death Knot trying to take some high ground positioning here, but gets booped off by Nanook, and a huge window coming through from your teammate. Both Glitch and Louise are taken down by it. Frosty soon to follow. Doomfist coming in on cart, trying to be able to find a pick of his own, and he does find a pick onto the BAP, and that might be the kickstart that Q for Quarantine needs in order to be able to find their way back into this fight.
We're going to see a beat here coming out. Oh!
Unfortunately, Beppo misses the shatter, does not connect with anybody, and now with Q for Quarantine, with all the momentum at their backs, unfortunately, the High Noon from Seraph not able to connect anybody, and a return High Noon from Frosty, able to zone out the remaining forces of SEAL Team Spuds. SEAL Team Spuds living to fight another day with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining here on their Route 66 attack.
Q for Quarantine aren't planning on giving up this match easily, and here we've got Death Knot's ultimate coming up. Kiddo's getting dangerously close to that grab. Kara does have their grab as well, and Nanook has that beat, so ultimates from both sides could really send this fight either way.
Unfortunately, Louise getting caught out a little in front of his team there and doesn't really have a shield to push back in to SEAL Team Spuds, and Meow MC gets killed for it. Kiddo does get taken out by Frosty, though, and this might be just enough for Q for Quarantine to slow down the relentless assault.
Oh, the payload's going.
But a huge shatter from Beppo, absolutely destroying the hopes
2
and
meters
dreams of Q for Quarantine. And is this it? Is this the moment that we've been waiting for? The moment in the sun for SEAL Team Spuds. It is indefinitely the moment where we see SEAL Team Spuds in that W column, able to pick up that long away, or that must needed, I should say, W that they've needed so far this stage one.
Yeah, here it's SEAL Team Spuds pulling out the clutch when they needed it. They were down in that fight once again, but Beppo decided losing fights kind of sucks. So how about we win? And that's what SEAL Team Spuds did. And it worked. It worked very well. So SEAL Team Spuds just pulling out the clutch value, but Q for Quarantine didn't give it up easily. It was definitely a very, very close game for both sides.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody's going to say that that one was tilted too far to one side or the other. Definitely entertaining Overwatch. We're happy that everybody was able to tune in tonight. Any donations that came through. Unfortunately, if I didn't see your name in the chat, I was just too laser focused on this Overwatch action. But we thank each and every single one of you from the bottom of our hearts for picking your pockets and putting those dollars towards an amazing cause that we have coming through for Rise Against the Disorder. So, but don't forget that the real event starts on Monday next week. We kick everything off for event week on Monday with your podcaster 1v1s, followed by your Widowmaker 1v1s on Tuesday, with your Torb Hammer 1v1s on Wednesday, and then rounding it out on Thursday and Friday with your 2v2s and your pugs. Your 2v2s are on Thursday, I believe, and your Tranquility pugs are on Friday, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, OC.
Yes, that is correct. The pugs are on Friday.
All right, one thing in my life that I didn't screw up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, already, I mean, where are we at with our donation goal here, OC? Can you see?
Not currently, but I know that we are over $1,000. I'm pretty sure at this point, so definitely getting a lot of progress on that. It's great.
Absolutely. And event week hasn't even started yet. Can you believe that? We already have $1,000 in the bank for this amazing charity, Rise Above the Disorder. Thank you so much, each and every single one of you that have donated so far. But again, the fun is just beginning. Also, OC, we have to pick an MVP. Are we on the same page here? Who's your vote for MVP of the match today?
Today, I would say I'd have to go with Death Knot. Death Knot just pulling out the plays, and SEAL Team Spuds, their entire play style was around Death Knot. It was just Death Knot, Death Knot, Death Knot the entire time. And Beppo really playing slow, kiting hard, and just giving Death Knot the opportunity to shine. It was amazing. It was amazing to watch how SEAL Team Spuds could really take advantage of that Hanzo pick and make it work.
See, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one, OCC, because I'm not going to take anything away from Death Knot here because he played absolutely amazing. Definitely getting a lot of pre-fight picks before the fights even started, right? But
Yeah,
a lot of his value was found from comboing his dragon with another ultimate, right?
that's
So
true.
I'm thinking, and maybe this is just my tank bias coming through, but I'm thinking I'm going to have to give it to Beppo for MVP tonight. Both players, I think, are definitely worthy candidates for the MVP. All of SEAL Team Spuds performed very, very well tonight, as did Q for Quarantine. Great match, great entertainment. We're happy that everybody was able to tune in tonight for your Discord tier featured match of the week. I hope that everybody is ready for event week next week, starting on Monday night. Keep your ears and eyes open in the Tranquility Discord for any news and updates. Also, your Stage 2 schedule and map pool will be announced in the Tranquility Discord later this evening as well. So make sure that you're paying attention to that, so that way everybody is prepared and on the same page for great games heading into Stage 2. My name is Thor. That is OC. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you in the next one.